On today's show, would trading for Dorian Finney-Smith change the Mavericks' trajectory? Would it fix the Mavs? We'll talk about that, answer your questions, and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
How about 10 Mavericks? NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section, would a trade for Dorian Finney-Smith change the trajectory of the Mavericks this season? I'm curious what everyone has to say about it. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Answering your questions today, I went through and sent a text in via subtext. You can subscribe to answer and ask questions. And I said, hey, give me some questions. And you guys responded in a big way. Tons of questions came in. About half of them about trades. About half of those are about trades for Dorian. So we're going to talk about trading for Dorian Finney-Smith today. We'll get into that. We'll get into some other trades. I've got a trade idea I want to throw by you. Let me know what you think about it. I'll throw it by in the second part here. And then we'll talk about some other things. I'll answer some other questions about Lively, the defense, different things we heard from practice today and all that. But I want to start here real quick. Via practice today, we learned that these are the players that practiced and didn't practice. Because right now, the injury report is kind of the most important thing for the Mavericks right now, because they're just missing too many players this weekend. It didn't work. Kyrie, Tim Hardaway, Dante Exum all went through practice, not limited at all. Great, huge, awesome. Love that. Love to hear that, especially about Kyrie, that the foot thing is more management and it's not, okay, this may be a long-term thing. What did I say yesterday with Reggie? We've got to figure out if this Kyrie foot thing is a long-term thing, because it keeps coming up and keeps coming up. Okay, seems like they're just playing it safe because he did practice. So good sign. Good sign with Kyrie. Tim Hardaway coming back, good sign too. Congrats to Dante Exum and his partner for the birth of their baby. And so congrats to him. He's back in practice and all that. Grant Williams did not practice. Right knee soreness. That to me seems and sounds like a rest day. Get your head right, right? Take a day, take a mental health day, and figure it out. Maybe his knee is sore, but soreness to me, especially on a practice day like this, says to me, all right, take it easy, get right, because he just hasn't been right. He hasn't been shooting the ball well lately, and the Mavericks do need him to start shooting the ball well and to step up into his role that he knows he can, right? The things that the Mavericks are asking Grant Williams to do, he can absolutely do. I still believe in it. Josh Green also didn't practice, as well as Maxi Kleber. With Josh Green, this elbow injury, I went back and looked at some stuff. He dealt with this same elbow injury in the summer. Remember when he was about to play for the Boomers, the Australian national team, and he was going to start for the team, and they were like, oh, he's starting over Matisse Thybulle, and that was the big story for us on this show. And then he was out for some of the preparation games, and then he was out for the first actual game, I believe, if I'm remembering this right, with this elbow injury. I know it was the elbow injury. I don't know how many games he was out for, but it was with this elbow injury. He also missed games back in December last season with an elbow injury, missed some time last year with an elbow injury. So I'm a little concerned that he's been out this practice. And why does it keep coming back? Who knows? This weird elbow injury he keeps having. So notable with Josh Green. The last one, Maxi, still out, and he's still shooting. He's not running yet. So if that tells you anything, that's how far Maxi is. Maxi's a decent ways from coming back. So there's no projections over the next, to me at least, the next couple weeks where he comes back. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I'm not expecting it. Let's just put it that way. That's the update from practice, from the injuries and all that. That's where the Mavericks are. Luka fully practiced. Everybody else fully practiced if I didn't mention their name. All right, let's talk about Dorian Finney-Smith, because it's maybe a little early to get into trade stuff yet, because there's just not a lot of rumors. Teams haven't really been communicating, talking, sending out feelers through reporters. And so we just don't know a lot of stuff yet. But we do know one thing. From Hoops Hype, Michael Scotto said, Dorian Finney-Smith has previously drawn interest from the Mavericks, the Heat, the Sixers, and the Grizzlies, among other teams. League sources told Hoops Hype. Rival executives expect the Nets to continue to have a high asking price worth the equivalent of 2 first-round picks. That was back at the end of November, so like a week ago or so. And so that's where we are with Dorian Finney-Smith from Michael Scotto. So When I think about Dorian Finney-Smith, and there's so many, a fourth of the questions I got on the mailbag today were about Dorian. When I think about him, first of all, I say immediately bring him back, please. Yes. Love him as a person, love him as, one of the Mavericks leaders on defense. They need that. They need everything that he can bring, his size, his shooting ability. They need all of that. If you could add him to this wing depth without losing anything, oh man, like sign me up. The team would be much better. I think the team would be better. And so there's 3 questions to ask. Can the Mavericks trade for Dorian? Should they trade for Dorian? And what would he bring if they did trade for Dorian? And would it be worth the price? So I think the Mavericks do have interest in Dorian. Scotto says that, and I've heard from sources that he does too. And the 2 first-round picks price sounds high, right? But it can be equivalent. So it can be a player and a first. Maybe the player himself would garner 1 first, and then the other first they can come with it. So the Mavericks have a 2027 first. Maybe they protect him. Maybe they don't. They have Josh Green. They have Jaden Hardy, and they have Omax. Now, there are some issues with those, but any of those players I think could potentially have first-round value. But here's some issues. Jaden Hardy, I don't think has shown first-round value this season so far. The way that he's played, I don't know that you can say he's for sure a first-round value on the trade block, all that. Maybe he's not that far removed from looking really good at the end of last season, and some teams would be willing to do it. You just have to know which team it is. Right now, the Nets have Cam Thomas, and I don't know if they want to bring on the worst version of the same guy that's just maybe a little taller, right? So I don't know that they'll want to do that. So we're just talking about the Nets. But who knows? Maybe they valued him a little bit better. Omax looks like a project. And he also has that new car off the lot kind of thing right now that rookies have, right? Where he's got his value immediately depreciates as soon as he gets drafted. When he was a first-round pick, like the night of, okay, first-round pick, let's go. When he plays one game, it's immediately lower value. So I don't know what the Nets value him at, right? I know the Locked On Nets guys really liked him. They were really mad when the Mavs drafted him and they didn't get him. Because I think they had the picks right after that. So I know those guys do, but I don't know about the Nets themselves. So that's with Omax. And then there's Josh Green. Josh Green's new deal. He's got this extension. It kicks in next season. And so he's got this poison pill contract where his contract is worth technically more in a trade than it is right now on the cap. So that's essentially what it is. I could explain the whole thing with a poison pill, but it's complicated. And so the part is it's harder to trade him because what you take back is more than technically what you're giving out because of his contract. So it makes it difficult to trade him. You kind of have to trade him to a team with cap space, basically, in order to make it work. Because you got to add something else in order for you to bring back, it's complicated. So Josh Green's a tough one. So, but even if Brooklyn did value any of those guys at the first, at a first round value, would it be worth it to do the upgrade? And I agree that I think Dorian would help this team a lot. But would it help them enough for them to give up their assets, 2 of their 3 or 4 or 5 assets that they have, to get marginally better this season? The Mavs cannot afford to trade 2 assets and it not project them and push them forward to becoming a contender either this season or in a season or 2 seasons, right? If you get Dorian, okay, it makes you better this season. But what about next season? Okay, you're probably still a little better because you have him. But they also need to make a move to jump forward, right? A big deal to jump forward, to get an elite player. And we'll talk about some of those a little bit later and who I think could move the needle. But I don't think Dorian moves the needle enough for them to give it up. And so at that point, as frustrating as it sounds, you might as well just sit on the assets and wait for something better. Right? Wait to accumulate some more assets. Because it's going to cost a little too much for the return, right? Your ROI is not big enough. This is one of the reasons why the Twitter GMs just will never win. Because you want to trade everybody. You want to trade for somebody all the time. Every time, every turn of the page. Trade deadline, got to get somebody. Free agency, got to get somebody. Draft, got to get somebody. Got somebody at the draft. Free agency comes. You didn't get anybody in a trade. Why didn't they get anybody in a trade? It's like, okay, you just can't keep spending your assets and spending your assets. Eventually, this team needs to make the move forward. They've got 2 stars, but now they've got to make the move to get the 3rd player. and to get that, it's got to be the right one. It's got to fix some of these flaws because they're bad. So, and you've got a rookie center, so your timeline's a little bit longer. And you've got a 25-year-old Luka just signed a deal, all that. We can talk about it. But to me, at least right now, if it's two assets, if it's a first and something, it's one of those other players, I don't think the Mavericks should do it right now. I think they wait on it and see. What if by the end of the season, Omax is as good as Dorian? Right? Call me a homer. Call me I'm not. Isaac Harris is not holding me like a ventriloquist. Like, hey, Omax is gonna be really good. But what if he is? Then all of a sudden the Mavericks gave up a first and a guy that's going to be as good as him, right? So I think you wait on it. You've got to be a little patient when you've got young players like this because it could turn out. Look at what Tyrese Halliburton's doing right now. You think the Kings would have rather kept Tyrese Halliburton? Sabonis has been great, sure, but Matt George is going to get really mad at me for saying that. All right, coming up, let's talk about some other trades. I got a trade idea. I'm going to see what you guys think about it. We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds that you can get in on. If you put down $5 on any money line and you win, let's say you're doing it on the play-in game or the in-season tournament. So Suns-Lakers. Suns plus 106. This is like the Isaac Harris hate bowl. Like all Mavs fans and him would hate to bet on either of these teams. So let me do the Knicks-Bucks instead. Knicks plus 168. We want to bet on our friend Brunson. You put $5 down on that, and the Knicks win that first in-season tournament game. You get $150 in bonus bets at FanDuel. Bucks minus 200, so you can put money down on that too. If they win, you get $150 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Get it. See what's available for you. They have NFL as well. So as the NFL season continues on, check out FanDuel. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
Hot man, the hot player.
Thanks, everybody, for being part of the show and hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you. All right, let's get into the next part here. Half of the questions from the mailbag were about trades. Half of them were about Dorian, talked about him, shared my piece on him. Now, the other questions about trades were all about what's a realistic trade? What's a dream player target? What could the Mavericks get for Omax Hardy salary matching on a scale of 1 to 10? How likely is it the Mavericks could make a significant trade this season? All right, here's the thing with a trade. Right now, the Mavericks have a lot of things. The Mavericks need a couple things, and they need them badly. Not gonna lie about that. They need an elite wing defender. That's the biggest need to me. More than backup center, more than all that. Dereck Lively looks great. Looks like he's the center of the future. You don't want to mess with that right now. You need the elite wing. You just do. Look at what the Bulls are doing right now. The Bulls are terrible. But look what the Bulls defense does. They've got Caruso. You've got Patrick Williams. You've got, Ayo Dosunmu. You've got whoever else. And they've got Vooch at the center. And they have an elite defense. Like the wings matter. If you get an elite wing defender, it can change your defense completely. And so that's what I think the Mavericks need to get after first. So that's what I'm going to focus on here with trades. The problem for the Mavericks is they need a player that will move the needle. But the players that move... Dang it. I did a thumbs up again, and the thing popped up. They need a player that's going to move the... What if I do a first finger? No. They need a player that's going to move the needle, but it has to be realistic because they're not going to be able to outbid some players. They're not going to be able to outbid some teams. So players that would move the needle for the Mavericks: Mikal Bridges, Aaron Gordon, Jaden McDaniels, OG Anunoby, Marcus Smart, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Dylan Brooks. Even Dylan Brooks, honestly, he would. I don't think the Mavericks can outbid some teams that would go after those players because they're that valuable. Then you go to the more realistic ones. Alex Caruso, Herb Jones, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Lou Dort, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson. Some move the needle more than others. Caruso, I think, moves the needle the most out of that group. Then probably Herb Jones. Then probably Dorian. Lou Dort would obviously be great and all that. But do the Mavericks, it's the same problem I mentioned with Dorian earlier. Do the Mavericks want to give up what it would take to get those players? Do they move the needle enough for them? And then there's some players that could help. The Robert Covingtons, Torrey Craigs, Harrison Barnes, DeAndre Hunter, Nick Batum, maybe Bojan Bogdanovic from the Pistons. And so you're looking across the league, and I think those are the wings that the Mavericks, that could help the Mavericks. in the position where the Mavericks need, name another player that I didn't mention, like a wing defender. A third of those guys you're not getting. A third of them don't move the needle enough. And a third of them may not move the needle enough for the price that you have to pay for them. So, okay, what do they do then? Okay, here's an answer I think that they can do. Tell me if you think this is crazy. Okay. Mavs get Jeremy Grant from the Blazers. It fits a couple of things. He's big. He's like 6'9". And so you need that length. He also can get his own shot a little here and there. He can also play off of other guys. Helps you offensively. Does not help you on defense as much as you'd want, obviously. But he's more available. His contract is bad. It's like 5 years. And it's a lot of money. It's like 27 this year and like going forward after that. He's on for 5 years. If the Blazers want to get off that deal, then the Mavericks can give them Tim Hardaway Jr. and Richaun Holmes. That matches his salary. And then they get off his deal in 2 years instead of waiting the full 5. If his value is this bad, I kind of think it would be, but maybe he's worth a little bit more because the teams are not valuing these contracts. Look at Zach LaVine right now. Teams are not valuing these long-term deals right now. It is not a plus for you to have a guy for 5 years. That messes up your books and it mucks up your books for a while. And so if his value is that low, just give him Tim Hardaway, Richaun Holmes. They can get off the deal in 2 years. The Mavericks bring in a wing that can help, that's bigger, that can help rebound, that can at least be a bigger wing defender, and you don't lose any of your guys. Then your starting lineup becomes Lively, Grant Williams, Jeremy Grant, Luka, and Kyrie. That's a pretty big lineup. You all of a sudden took Derrick Jones Jr. and like made him 2 inches taller. Now all of a sudden you're a bigger lineup. You could start Derrick Jones Jr. instead of Grant Williams. Start 2 Grants. Start 1 Grant. I don't care. Whichever Grant it is. So I think that's a trade. And then let's say Portland counters, and Mike Richmond, I'll probably ask him about this. They counter and say, we got to get something for him. Okay, maybe send Jaden Hardy. Maybe send a couple second-round picks. I don't think you have to send the first because I don't think he's that valuable right now. He's not that movable because of the long-term nature of his contract and the size of his contract. So you got to look at some of these players like this that have value that's not as high as some of these other players. And so I think that's why Jeremy Grant, he can't be traded until January 15th. So a deal like this couldn't happen for another month. But you've got a month to think about and figure out, is this something the Mavericks should do? And it's more like 6 weeks. So can you wait 6 weeks, make a move like that? And by 6 weeks, I think we'll know a little bit more. Which teams are going to be in trades? We'll talk about more trade rumors and players that are going to be available. Like right now, is Andrew Wiggins available? He would help the Mavericks, I think. He's not helping the Warriors right now, but maybe the Warriors want to get off that deal and then try something different. Herb Jones. Why would the Pelicans want to trade Herb Jones? Caruso. He's like the only good defender actually on the trade block right now. So there's going to be a bidding war for him. The Mavericks can't outbid teams. That's what you're kind of stuck with this. Is there going to be a bidding war for Jeremy Grant? Probably not. Probably not. And so that's why I think that if I'm going to come up with some kind of trade idea today, it's Jeremy Grant. And to see what they could do with him, who would help the offense, he would help size-wise. He has been a decent defender in the past. Remember, he used to play for the Nuggets, and they were in the playoffs, and I think he did well there. He doesn't fit your elite defender, but he does help your offense a lot, and some of the issues with the offense kind of getting bogged down, he would be out there, and he would help in the games when Luka or Kyrie have to miss. He would help in the times when either Luka or Kyrie sit. You boost your offense a lot. You boost your size a little bit more. Then your wing rotation becomes really good. Because he's been pretty good this year, but his contract is ridiculous. All right, coming up, let's answer some more of your questions. Can Dereck Lively get in the Rookie of the Year conversation? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has all kinds of tickets for you. Go to gametime.co or download the Gametime app, create an account, and see what events are near you right now. They got Vegas Golden Knights at Dallas Stars, like $50 for tickets like that. It's on Saturday. It's like a 3:00 Saturday game. Go to a hockey game and then hang out afterwards. Jazz at Mavs on Wednesday. Wow. $11 for tickets. $11 just gets you in the building. And then you can come say hi to me, get a sticker. How about that? That'd be fun. Let's see. Lower Bowl, there's tickets for like $61 right now. That's pretty good. to sit in the lower, but there's a flash deal right now. You can check that one out, see what's available for you. Again, check it out. Go to gametime.co, download the Gametime app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. So if a ticket's $11 and you get $20 off, let me know. Let me know if they give you $9 back on that deal. Let me know. Gametime, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase at Gametime. All right, Isaac, let's get into some more questions that you guys asked. Bunch of them are on trades. We talked about that already. Let's answer some questions about non-trade stuff. If Dereck Lively keeps it up, do you think he can work his way into the Rookie of the Year conversation? That was one question. And do you think all-rookie second-team center is Dereck Lively's to lose? What would it take for him to get to first team? So the answer to the beginning part is Lively can absolutely get into the Rookie of the Year conversation. I think he should be in there right now. Chet and Wemby are going to be at the top of that, obviously. I don't think you're going to unseat them. They create too much. They're too good. All that. So there's that. And then but he can get into the conversation. I think he can get all the way up to third if he wants to. Who are the other guys in there right now? You're probably looking at Brandon Miller. He's averaging 14 points on a bad Hornets team. Jordan Hawkins is shooting, 37% from three on like 13 points a game on an 11-10 Pelicans team. What if they win the midseason tournament or the in-season tournament? Jaime Jaquez is averaging like 12 points on a good Heat team. He's averaging like 26 minutes a game. And then you got to dig a little bit, but you've got Dereck Lively, 25 minutes a game, starting, huge impact right now. Bigger impact than those other guys, I think. So then all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, to me at least, it would be Chet, Wembanyama, and then Lively. That would be my list right now for Rookie of the Year. But he's absolutely he's in the conversation now. You have to know the Mavs. And maybe this is a crusade that I get to go on this year. It's like Dereck Lively should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Don't just look at points and rebounds because, all right, well, he's averaging 8.5 points, 7.8 rebounds. He's averaging less rebounds than Asar Thompson. So how can he be in the... No. Think about the Mavs are 11-6 when he plays. He's missed 2 games. They lost both of them badly. He's absolutely on the all rookie team conversation. It's positionless, so he can be first team right now. I think he is first team right now, and he should be. Imagine first team is probably going to be Wemby, Chet, and Dereck Lively. That's pretty wild. Wemby, Chet, Dereck Lively, probably Hawkins, maybe Asar Thompson, maybe Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller also 14 points on 31 minutes a game. Interesting. So let me know what you think about that. Can he get in the Rookie of the Year conversation? Absolutely. I think he's in it right now. All rookie second team? No, give me all rookie first team for him because it's positionless. I think he's absolutely in it right now. I don't think anyone else is outplaying him. Maybe there's somebody else that I don't know well enough because I'm not watching their team, but I think Dereck Lively has been that good. What are your thoughts on how the defense can step up and just be better with what we have? Because it doesn't seem like they're going to get any help, and Jason Kidd should maybe be more vocal. Kidd is vocal on defense. I'll give him that. I'll give him credit on that. But the changes and the firing up the team and trying to get them invested and bought in, that stuff seems to be hard. Because they keep saying it's effort. They keep saying it's energy. He was asked about it at practice today. Well, your team in that 30-0 run proved that they can play defense like that. So how frustrated does that make you basically as a coach was the question he was asked. And he's like, yeah, they can do it. It's possible. It's just communication. That's the Jason Kidd-ism of it.
I'm not playing.
And so to me, they just need a fire lit under them. But it needs to happen constantly. And you need to keep fanning the flame. Jason Kidd needs to push Grant Williams buttons. Because they wanted Grant Williams to come in and be that. Said, Grant Williams, come in here, take some threes, and be the leader on defense. Grant Williams fully accepted that at the beginning of the season. And I don't think that he would feel comfortable with how good he's played so far defensively. And I don't think he would feel great about the leadership that he's shown on defense right now. I think he would be the first one to tell you that he doesn't feel great about that. I think he did say that last week. That he's got to step up more as a leader. He's got to be, and it's going to take a little bit because it takes a little while to learn the system. Takes a little bit for guys to play together. This is pretty much a new team, right? If you think about it, going back to the end of last year, push that all under the bed because you don't want to go back to the chemistry that team showed. that was awful. And Dwight's not playing. Maxi's out. Guys are in and out of the lineup here and there. Like, this is a new team, so they're having to learn together. Part of this whole defense and everything is chemistry, and so they need somebody to like, all right, I'm handling my business, and now I can call everybody out on their business. I've seen Lively do it a couple times, and you've seen Grant do it too, but Grant's the one that was expected to do it. Lively's not expected to jump into that role yet. But he's the back line. I think Lively's been doing a good job of calling out stuff. I'm grading him as a rookie. I'm grading Grant Williams as a player that's been to the finals and that wanted it. Wanted to be the leader. Wanted to be the one that stepped up. Wanted to be that vet, right? And so I think he would be the first one to tell you that he doesn't feel great about where he is as a leader defensively. And I think somewhere, kid or somebody, Dudley, Sean Sweeney, whoever, has got to step up and light a fire under him and like push his buttons, just Ted Lasso style, right? Like Ted Lasso style, push his buttons just a little to get him going. I think just like Ted Lasso looks at Beard in that episode where they're in the first season where they're trying to get Roy invested and involved. Coach, if we're ever going to make a difference here, it's going to have to start right with that man's heart. And if they do make a difference here, it's going to have to start with Grant Williams' mouth. It's going to have to start with Grant Williams' mouth because he's the one I think's got to be the vocal leader. No one, I don't think anyone else. Derek Jones Jr. has been great. He's a very quiet person. Josh Green has not stepped up in his spot. I had never expected him to be in that position. Maxi Kleba's been out and hurt, and he hasn't been that vocal of a leader. You don't want Kyrie or Luka to lead your defense, right? Right? Maybe. Who else? I think it's got to be Grant Williams. That's the one area of his game. The shooting's going to come and go. I expect his shooting to pick up here in a little bit. But the defensive leadership is not something I've necessarily seen yet. And part of it is because he's having a hard time holding down his side of it on defense too. It's hard. This is a hard thing to learn to come in and just immediately be good at. Took the Mavericks, when the Mavericks were good at this 2 years ago, it took them all season to figure it out. There you go. That's the Mavericks on defense. That's Dereck Lively. That's trades. That's all that. Let me know what you think about the trade. Let me know what you think about the Jeremy Grant trade. Let me know what you think about a trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Valencia King. We're going to talk all about the Mavericks and where we're at with all the players right now. We'll probably go down the roster and be like, let's do a vibes check on everybody and just see where we are with all the players. So we'll be back tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.